America is filled with stories of strange and legendary creatures, some born from myth and others from mysterious encounters that defy explanation. From eerie cryptids lurking in remote places to mythical beasts passed down through generations, these creatures have left their mark on folklore. Grab a seat and your favorite drink, because in today's video, we'll explore the world of American mythical creatures and cryptids, beings that continue to intrigue and terrify to this day. The Letiche is a creature from Cajun folklore in Louisiana, believed to haunt the bayous. It is often described as the soul of an unbaptized illegitimate infant or as a human child raised by alligators. According to legend, the Letiche lurks in the swamps, causing disturbances to boats and attacking travelers who venture too close. In Missouri folklore, the Beaman Monster is named after the town of Beaman. Stories about it vary. Some say it's the offspring of a 12-foot-tall gorilla that escaped a circus train, while others describe it as a wolf or coyote-like creature. The legend has been passed down for generations in the Sedalia area, with some saying it dates back to the early 1900s. In southern Texas, tales of El Muerto have emerged since the mid-1800s. This figure is described as a headless horseman, with his head dangling from his saddle. His horse is said to create lightning with its hooves when they strike the ground. Legend has it that El Muerto is based on a story of a man who was beheaded for horse theft. To make an example of him, his killers tied his decapitated body to a wild horse, securing his head to the saddle before sending the horse off. The Augerino is a legendary creature from folk tales in lumberjack and ranching communities in the western U.S., especially Colorado. It was said to live underground in dry areas, boring holes in dams and irrigation ditches to drain water. Some stories describe it as a giant worm, though details vary. The name likely comes from the hand tool, the auger. In 1941, Tales from Middle Park, Colorado described the Augerino as an indestructible, corkscrew-shaped worm that reinforced its burrows with silica. Urayuli are described as ape-like creatures living in southwestern Alaska. Standing 10 feet tall, they have long, shaggy fur, glowing eyes, and emit a high-pitched cry similar to a loon's. Their long arms are said to reach down to their ankles. These peaceful beings are rumored to inhabit the forests near Lake Iliamna, unlike the more sinister Kushtaka of southeastern Alaska. According to legend, Urayuli are transformed children who get lost in the woods at night. This tale may have originated to keep children from wandering outside after dark. The Squonk is a mythical creature from the hemlock forests of northern Pennsylvania, known for its sad, ugly appearance and constant weeping. First mentioned in the 1910 book Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods, the Squonk has loose, warty skin that causes it great distress. It leaves a trail of tears as it wanders, especially avoiding moonlit nights to not see its reflection. When trapped, the Squonk supposedly dissolves into its own tears. The term chemical squonk in scientific literature refers to substances that decompose when isolated, echoing the Squonk's self-dissolving behavior. The Irrwurz, or Irrwurzel, meaning astray root, and Irrkraut, meaning astray herb, are legendary plants from German-speaking regions. German ancestors of the Pennsylvania Dutch brought the myth of Irrkraut to America, referring to it as Verrirgraut, going astray herb, in their dialect and associating it with the rattlesnake plantain. If someone steps on this plant at night, they are said to wander aimlessly until morning. If they step on it during the day, they need to be shocked back to their senses to stop the wandering. Pennsylvania Dutch remedies for this issue include walking barefoot or switching shoes. Indrid Cold, also known as the Grinning Man, is a legendary figure linked to the Mothman, first reported by Woodrow Derenberger in John Keel's book, The Mothman Prophecies. He is described as a humanoid entity, possibly extraterrestrial, with an unusually large smile. In popular culture, Indrid Cold appears in the Mothman Prophecies film and has been referenced in various other media, including the podcast The Adventure Zone, the video game Fallout 76, the trading card game MetaZoo, and the comic book The Department of Truth. Additionally, a character named Mystery Man from the film Lost Highway is loosely inspired by Indrid Cold. The Rougarou is a variation of the French loup-garou, a legendary creature rooted in Cajun folklore in Louisiana. Described as having a human body and the head of a wolf or dog, the Rougarou prowls the swamps and woodlands, often used in stories to instill fear and encourage obedience among children. Some tales suggest it hunts Catholics who break Lent, echoing older French legends. The curse of the Rougarou is said to last 101 days, during which it can pass the curse by drawing blood from another person. Other variations depict the Rougarou as a rabbit, or linked to witchcraft, with only witches able to create such creatures. The Gallinipper is a fascinating cryptid from African American folklore, often described as a gigantic mosquito. According to legend, these creatures were so enormous that their bones could allegedly fence off a sprawling 140-acre field, making them the stuff of nightmares for those who heard the tales. In popular lore, the Gallinipper is depicted as a monstrous insect, with stories suggesting it was capable of clearing vast areas of land, such as 140 acres, when it extracted its bill from a tree trunk. This imagery underscores the creature's exaggerated size and terrifying nature. The tales often evoke a sense of fear and awe, reflecting the community's relationship with the natural world and its larger-than-life threats. In October 1903, the small town of Van Meter, Iowa, was shaken by reports of a mysterious creature. Several respected townsfolk described a winged beast that terrorized residents over several nights. Witnesses noted its large bat-like wings, an awful stench, and the bizarre ability to shoot bright beams of light from its forehead. Locals attempted to shoot the creature, but their efforts were in vain. Frustrated by the ongoing menace, a group of townspeople banded together one night and tracked the creature to an abandoned coal mine. There, they encountered not one, but two of the beasts. As they opened fire, the creatures vanished into the darkness of the mine, never to be seen again. The story of the Green Lady revolves around a woman who frequented the Wahiawa Gulch, home to the Wahiawa Botanical Garden, with her children. One day, one of her children went missing and was never found. Legend has it that she still roams the gulch, searching for her lost child, and may take any child she encounters. Witnesses have reported seeing a green figure covered in moss or mold wandering the area. Some say she resembles a kappa, a Japanese mythological creature known for stealing children to feast upon. The last known sighting occurred in the mid to late 1980s. Today, children and teenagers often dare each other to cross the bridge over the gulch at night. Many believe this tale was created to discourage kids from exploring the gulch alone. Dzoavits is a demonic ogre from Shoshone Native American mythology, known for stealing the sun, kidnapping children, and practicing cannibalism. He became an enemy of nature's animals. One notable story tells how Dzoavits stole dove eggs containing her chicks. Dove, eagle, and crane pursued him to reclaim the eggs. When Dzoavits chased them, the three animals hid in a hole. To protect them, Badger used clever tricks to deceive the ogre. He made Dzoavits believe that Dove was in another hole, luring him in. The animals then quickly covered the entrance with heavy rocks, trapping him. This location became known as Devil's Hole, intended to keep Dzoavits sealed forever. It's unclear whether he remains trapped or has escaped, as he was never seen again after this tale. Huggin Molly is a legendary ghost story originating from Abbeville, Alabama, and may date back over a century. Described as a towering figure standing 7 feet tall, Molly is often depicted wearing a large black cloak and a wide-brimmed hat. The ghost is said to approach people swiftly, hugging them tightly while letting out a terrifying scream in their ear before vanishing. There are 2 main explanations for her haunting presence. One version suggests that Molly is the spirit of a mother who lost her child and now wanders the streets at night, hugging wayward children to guide them home. In another tale, Molly is said to be the ghost of a woman who was murdered, her screams for help unheard, leading her to grab unsuspecting passers-by in a desperate search for assistance. Momo the Monster, also known as the Missouri Monster, gained notoriety in 1971 and 1972 when numerous sightings of an ape-like creature resembling Bigfoot were reported in rural Louisiana, Missouri. Unlike other cryptids like the Fouke Monster or Mothman, Momo didn't become a major tourist attraction. Described as a large bipedal humanoid standing about 7 feet tall, Momo is said to have a pumpkin-sized head and emits a foul odor from its dark hair. The most famous sighting occurred on July 11th, 1972, when 2 boys playing in their backyard witnessed the creature holding a dead dog. Their older sister, Doris, saw the creature too, describing its massive stature, dark hair, and distinctive pumpkin-shaped head with glowing orange eyes. The Splintercat is a legendary creature in U.S. folklore, known for its fierce nocturnal behavior. This cat-like beast can fly at incredible speeds, and when it crashes into large trees, it knocks off branches and withers the trunk, leaving behind ghostly dead trees in the Pacific Northwest. It does this to expose raccoons and bees, but the constant headaches from this act make it perpetually grumpy, so it's best to avoid it. An alternate version of the Splintercat comes from Nova Scotia, where it's said to emerge at night in winter. The eerie sound of cracking trees from frost is attributed to this creature. In this version, Splintercats have long claws, strong legs, and fur that blends with the bark of their favorite trees, allowing them to remain perfectly still before pouncing on their prey from the shadows. The Central American Whintosser is an aggressive creature from lumberjack tales in North America during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Found in California's coastal ranges, particularly around Mad River, Whintossers are social animals, living in families or packs. The Whintosser has a triangular body, a short swiveling tail, and a neck, with both head and tail able to spin up to 100 times per minute. Though not large, it has a fierce demeanor. It possesses 3 sets of legs that provide stability during earthquakes, allowing it to walk upside down and sideways. Its bristly fur slopes sharply. Known for causing trouble, the Whintosser is difficult to kill. Attempts to shoot or club it result in wild thrashing and screaming. The only effective way to dispatch this creature is by trapping it in a flume pipe or log, where it will struggle until it tears itself apart. The Proctor Valley Monster is a cryptid said to inhabit Proctor Valley. The legend is often associated with Proctor Valley Road, a dirt path that links the community of Jamel in the northeast to the East Lake neighborhood of Chula Vista in the southwest. Descriptions of the monster vary among locals, contributing to its mystique. The 2 most commonly agreed upon versions depict the creature as either a tall, hairy being reminiscent of Bigfoot or as a bizarre, disarranged cow type. Interestingly, the Bonita Museum and Cultural Center claims to have on display an unknown humanoid footprint attributed to this creature, which many residents believe serves as concrete evidence of its existence. This mixture of uncertain sightings and rumored evidence keeps the legend of the Proctor Valley Monster alive in the community, attracting curiosity and intrigue from both locals and visitors. The Beast of Bladenboro refers to a creature linked to animal deaths in Bladenboro, North Carolina, during the winter of 1953 to 54. Witnesses suspected a wildcat, but its identity was never confirmed. Most of the victims, especially dogs, were either crushed or decapitated. The first death occurred on December 29, 1953, when a dog was killed near Bladenboro. Over the next week, more dogs were found dead, their bodies severely mutilated. Locals described the creature as sleek and black, with some saying it resembled a panther or a bear. Large hunting parties were organized to catch the beast, but no definitive evidence was found. In mid-January, a local farmer shot a bobcat, which was declared the Beast of Bladenboro, though many doubted such a small animal could have caused the attacks. Speculation remains, with theories ranging from wildcats to large dogs. Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is a legendary creature said to roam the forests of North America, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. This hairy, human-like being is a prominent figure in both American and Canadian folklore, capturing imaginations and sparking countless stories. Since the mid-20th century, Bigfoot has become a cultural icon, deeply ingrained in popular culture and even spawning its own devoted subculture. Enthusiasts, particularly within the field of cryptozoology, have presented various pieces of evidence to support Bigfoot's existence. These include eyewitness accounts, supposed photographs, videos, audio recordings, hair samples, and casts of giant footprints. However, skeptics argue that much of this evidence is dubious at best, and the scientific consensus leans towards Bigfoot being a product of folklore, misidentification, and hoaxes rather than a real creature. In American folklore, the golden bear is a legendary large golden brown bear, specifically the Ursus arctos species, which can weigh between 130 to 700 kilograms, 290 to 1,540 pounds. This includes North American subspecies like the grizzly and Kodiak bears. One notable golden bear was spotted near Turner, Kansas. In 1831, John Gardner noted that it was both feared and admired by the local indigenous people. This bear roamed the hills south of the river near the Methodist Mission and was said to be the biggest bear the natives had ever encountered. It would raid nearby settlements, preying on animals owned by the Shawnee tribe. Many locals sought to kill the bear, motivated by the pride of the hunt and the value of its prized fur. The ferry crew at Old Grinter Ferry reported seeing the bear multiple times during the 1830s and 1840s, but hunting parties from both the Shawnee and Wyandot tribes were unable to track it down. The skunk ape, a legendary figure in the southeastern United States, particularly in Florida, is described as a large and hairy humanoid creature similar to Bigfoot. This elusive being, often dubbed the cousin of Bigfoot, is said to inhabit forests and swamps in the region. Numerous attempts have been made to prove the skunk ape's existence, with reports ranging from anecdotal sightings to disputed photographs, audio recordings, and casts of footprints. However, mainstream scientists have largely dismissed these claims, attributing them to folklore, misidentification, and hoaxes. Despite skepticism from the scientific community, the skunk ape has left its mark on the popular culture of the southern United States, especially in Florida. Descriptions typically depict it as a bipedal creature standing between 5 to 7 feet tall, covered in reddish-brown hair with a mottled appearance. True to its name, the skunk ape is known for emitting a foul odor reminiscent of a skunk. In Arkansas folklore, the howler is a legendary creature believed to inhabit the Ozarks. Traditionally described as bear-like with a dark, shaggy coat, the howler has captured the imagination of locals. In December 2015, 4029th News, an Arkansas television station, reported receiving photographs that viewers claimed depicted the creature. However, when the station reached out to the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, officials stated they had received no credible sightings and characterized the images as a hoax. Despite this skepticism, reports of the howler have surfaced in other contexts. In the fall of 2014, call records to the AGFC included an incident from Benton County. In October of that year, a recorded emergency call detailed a near collision between a motorist and an unidentified anime. The conversation indicated that armed wildlife officers were dispatched to investigate a sighting of a bear-sized gray animal running quickly on Pump Station Road in Springdale. The Wapaloosie is a quirky creature from North American lumberjack folklore. About the size of a sausage dog, it has woodpecker-like feet and a spiked tail for climbing trees. This agile little critter feeds exclusively on mushrooms growing on trees. In one tale, a lumberjack shot a Wapaloosie and crafted gloves from its skin. To his shock, the gloves moved on their own when he picked up his axe, climbing up to the blade. He soon discarded them, watching as the gloves vanished into the forest. In the 2015 book, Fearsome Creatures, the Wapaloosie is portrayed as the least dangerous among 20 creatures. Once a mouse, now a chinchilla, it's known for its cute appearance, featuring gray rings, cat whiskers, and sometimes black hair. Its fur can come back to life even after being used in clothing, and despite its sour taste, it's considered harmless and adorable. Its scientific name is Adorabilis arborealis, and the plural is Wapaloosim. The Jersey Devil, also known as the Leeds Devil, is a creature from South Jersey and Philadelphia folklore, said to inhabit the Pine Barrens. Descriptions vary, but it's often depicted as a bipedal, bat-winged creature with a horse or goat-like head, hooves, and a forked tail, emitting a terrifying scream. According to legend, the creature originated in 1735 when a woman, Mother Leeds, cursed her 13th child, which transformed into a monstrous creature and flew into the woods. Some versions claim she was a witch and the child's father was the devil. The story also ties into the Leeds family, prominent in colonial New Jersey, with connections to political and religious disputes that fueled the legend. Sightings have been reported since the 18th century, with a wave of sightings in 1909 causing mass hysteria. Skeptics suggest misidentified animals or local folklore contributed to the legend. Despite no hard evidence, the Jersey Devil remains a key part of Pine Barrens mythology. The Miniwashitu, or water monster of the Missouri River, is a fearsome creature rumored to roam central North Dakota's waterways. Standing 8 feet tall, this bipedal beast resembles a mix of a bison and a chupacabra, with tough hide, a single eye, a bison horn, elk-like hooves, human hands, and a jagged spine. Local tribes, including the Mandan, believed it controlled the spring thaw by smashing the river ice as temperatures rose. According to Dakota legends, the Miniwashitu is rarely seen, but when it is, it creates a terrifying spectacle. Author Melvin Randolph Gilmore recounted that it could cause a red glow in the water, roaring as it swam upstream. Those who glimpsed it would reportedly become insane, writhing in agony until death. One witness described the creature as having red fur, a single horn above its eye, and a jagged backbone. Locals continue to believe that the Miniwashitu still lurks in the Missouri River, instilling fear and awe in the community. In Texan folklore, the Lake Worth monster is said to inhabit Lake Worth near Fort Worth. Described as a part man, part goat creature with scales and long, clawed fingers, it became the center of attention in July 1969 when local sightings began. Reports included bizarre encounters such as the monster jumping onto a man's car from a tree and throwing a tire at a group. A photograph taken by Alan Plaster depicting a white fur ball fueled interest, prompting locals to visit the lake at night. Despite police investigations, no evidence was found. Some believe the Goatman legend spread through summer camp stories where counselors warned children to listen for its cries. In later interviews, Plaster suggested the sighting might have been a prank, as reports dwindled when school resumed. In 2005, an anonymous letter from someone claiming to be a participant in the prank surfaced, while in 2009, a man alleged involvement in the tire-throwing incident. Cryptozoologist Craig Woolheater theorizes that the Lake Worth monster could be an undiscovered primate species that walks on two legs. The Nain Rouge, or Red Dwarf, is a legendary creature from Detroit folklore, said to bring misfortune to the area's white settlers. Although tales of the Nain Rouge emerged in the 1880s, it is linked to earlier events, including a story involving Detroit's founder, Antoine de la Motte Cadillac, who angered the creature and faced a series of unfortunate events as a result. Described as a small, red-faced being with sharp teeth and glowing eyes, the Nain Rouge is believed to have appeared before significant disasters, such as the Battle of Bloody Run in 1763 and the War of 1812. Reports of sightings continued into the 20th century, including before the 1967 Detroit riots. The Nain Rouge is now part of the modern Detroit culture, inspiring drinks, films, and the annual Marche du Nain Rouge, where locals chase the creature out of town. Scholars suggest that the legend blends both French and Native American traditions, serving as a symbol for those marginalized by history, often representing a menace to those in power. In Arkansas folklore, the Fouke Monster, also called the Boggy Creek Monster, is believed to be an ape-like creature similar to Bigfoot. It's said to have been sighted in Fouke during the early 1970s, with reports of it attacking a local family. Descriptions depict it as a large, bipedal creature covered in dark hair, with some witnesses claiming it stands up to 10 feet tall and emits a foul odor. These sightings have become part of local legend and have influenced the culture of folk, inspiring the cult classic film The Legend of Boggy Creek. Named by journalist Jim Powell, the Fouke Monster gained attention through reports in the Texarkana Gazette and the Texarkana Daily News. Witnesses describe it as running swiftly with a galloping gait, swinging its arms like a monkey. It's said to emit a foul odor described as a mix of skunk and wet dog with bright red eyes. Evidence includes tracks and claw marks purportedly belonging to the Fouke Monster. These sightings and encounters have cemented its place in local legend, inspiring further interest and speculation about its existence. Mud mermaids are intriguing mermaid-like creatures believed to have inhabited the muddy banks of the Ohio River during the early 19th and 20th centuries. Their first recorded mention appeared in an 1839 Pennsylvania newspaper, describing them as approximately 4 feet tall, covered in a light coat of chestnut-colored hair, with yellowish skin and webbed feet at the end of their 4 limbs. While sightings often vary in detail, they consistently exhibit vaguely humanoid and amphibious characteristics. These elusive creatures are said to possess remarkable speed, both on land and in water, and are known to emit loud screeches and yelps when pursued. Their diet primarily consists of frogs and fish, suggesting they are well adapted to their aquatic environment. Historically, mud mermaids have shown little interest in attacking humans. Instead, they are typically described as reclusive and easily startled. Despite their sharp teeth and claws, which might appear threatening, these features seem to be primarily utilized for catching fish and small river animals rather than for aggression toward humans. In American folklore, the Hodag is a fearsome critter resembling a large bull-horned carnivore with thick, curved spines along its back. It was said to be born from the ashes of mistreated oxen, symbolizing their suffering. The Hodag is closely tied to Rhinelander, Wisconsin, where it was famously discovered in the 1890s. In 1893, newspapers reported the Hodag's discovery, describing it as having the head of a frog, the face of an elephant, thick legs with huge claws, a dinosaur-like back, and a spiked tail. This story originated from Eugene Shepard, a local prankster who claimed to capture the beast using dynamite. A photograph of its remains was circulated, describing it as the fiercest monster ever, which became extinct due to the scarcity of white bulldogs, its main food source. Shepard later claimed to have captured a live Hodag in 1896, displaying it at the Oneida County Fair. His setup included wires that would make the creature move, startling onlookers. As the story gained traction, scientists from the Smithsonian announced they would investigate, prompting Shepard to confess the Hodag was a hoax. The slide rock bolter is a strange and fearsome creature from lumberjack tales of the 19th and early 20th centuries. Believed to inhabit the steep mountains of Colorado, it features an enormous head, small eyes, and a large mouth resembling that of a sculpin. Its tail ends in fluke-like grab hooks. This creature causes considerable anxiety among tourists in the Colorado mountains. It uses its grab hooks to cling to mountain ridges, often remaining motionless for days while watching for prey. When it spots a target, it releases its grip and slides downhill, drooling grease to gain speed and scooping up victims in its mouth as it descends. The momentum allows it to climb the next slope, where it waits to strike again. Reports claim entire groups of tourists have been swallowed at once. The bolter also harms the forest, uprooting trees and leaving wastelands in its wake. A forest ranger once devised a plan to trap a slide rock bolter using a dummy dressed like a tourist. When the bolter attacked, it triggered an explosion that destroyed half the buildings in Rico, which were never rebuilt. The remains of the bolter fed local buzzards that summer. The Willow Malone is a sneaky, dangerous creature that hides in the shadows of the forest floor. It's more like a sickness than a visible being, creeping out at dusk to claim what it finds during the night. It doesn't settle for leftovers. Instead, it covers the harmless lichens it gathers with something much darker. Loggers, resting peacefully after a long day, unknowingly become targets. The creature, with unsettling precision, places its toxic, mind-altering spores directly on their eyes and ears while they sleep. And that's when the real nightmare begins. It starts with dreams, vivid and twisted visions that feel too real to be just dreams. The spores take hold in their minds, creating hallucinations that blur the line between fantasy and reality. When they wake, they feel a strange madness clinging to them, which some call fairy flower. But it's even worse for those who had been drinking before bed. For them, the creature's poison doesn't just disturb, it overwhelms, dragging them into a deeper, more terrifying state of waking nightmares. The Willem alone is feared not for how it looks, but for the quiet destruction it leaves behind. Those who know of it warn others, but often the warning comes too late. The Crichton Leprechaun gained notoriety in 2006 when reports surfaced of a leprechaun allegedly spotted in a tree in the Crichton neighborhood of Mobile, Alabama. The story became widely known after a news segment aired on local NBC affiliate WPMI-TV and was later posted on YouTube, where it rapidly went viral, amassing over 28 million views by 2023. The incident began on March 14, 2006, when reporter Brian Johnson was dispatched to investigate reports of crowds gathering in Crichton due to supposed leprechaun sightings. Residents, including Nina Thomas Brown, contributed sketches and stories, further fueling the excitement. Interviews conducted during the report included a skeptical resident who suggested the figure might be a crackhead, and DeMarco Morissette, who claimed to possess a special leprechaun flute and became known as the Flute Man. The report aired twice, with the morning version achieving significant popularity and recognition in mainstream media. Since then, the Crichton Leprechaun has become a local icon, inspiring businesses like Sign Source to create and sell cardboard cutouts of the leprechaun, including an 8-foot-tall version displayed outside their store, reflecting the enduring fascination and community pride surrounding this quirky legend. The Badlands of Dakota, often called Hell with the Fires Out, live up to their fearsome name. This ancient sea bottom features clay formations shaped by frost and floods into surreal pagodas and pyramids, with winding canyons among the vivid yet oppressive peaks. Deer roam the rugged hills, and rattlesnakes bask near burning coal seams. At Watchdog Butte, a banshee's chilling cries haunt the desert, more fearsome than any bear or panther. By moonlight, she appears on a nearby hill, her hair blowing and arms gesturing wildly. Those who pass the haunted butte at night see phosphorescent flashes and feel the banshee's presence. She stands nearby, seemingly seeking help, but when questioned, she shrieks and vanishes, only to reappear wringing her hands. Cattle refuse to graze near her territory, and cowboys steer clear, as the mystery of the Banshee remains unsolved. Occasionally, she is joined by a glowing skeleton that haunts the area, searching for music. If he hears a tune, he nods along, eagerly taking any nearby violin to play enchanting melodies that range from soft whispers to eerie howls. As dawn approaches, the music fades, but those who follow the skeleton risk falling into treacherous pitfalls, as the haunting tunes can lead to madness and loss of soul. While otters are typically regarded as playful and endearing creatures, the Tlingit people of Alaska and Canada have a different perspective. According to their lore, otters have the potential to be shapeshifters known as Kushtaka. In their natural form, Kushtaka resemble men but possess hairy bodies with otter-like characteristics. They have the ability to effortlessly transition between their human guise and otter form as it suits their intentions. Legend depicts Kushtaka as primarily malevolent beings lurking near water's edge, akin to water babies, often employing mimicry of human voices and cries to entice unsuspecting individuals. Once lured close, they drag their victims into the water, tearing them apart with their sharp claws. Despite their penchant for terrorizing sailors, some stories suggest a more ambivalent nature, portraying Kushtaka as occasionally offering assistance to those lost at sea. They may conjure comforting illusions of the sailor's loved ones or transform the individual into an otter for survival, albeit without their consent. Notably, Kushtaka harbor several strong fears, particularly of dogs and their barks, which reputedly can compel them to revert to their less menacing otter form. Other purported defenses against Kushtaka include urine, copper, and fire, although the most effective precaution is simply to avoid otters altogether. Ludwig the Bloodsucker is a legendary figure from 19th century New York City folklore, often associated with the Bowery neighborhood. His character embodies the mythic and macabre qualities of urban legends that emerged during that era. Ludwig was depicted as a squat, swarthy German man, notable for his exaggerated and grotesque physical features. He had an enormous head topped with a bristly shock of black hair, with tufts of hair growing from his ears and even sprouting from the tip of his nose. This bizarre appearance contributed to his reputation and mystique as a vampire-like figure. According to the tales, Ludwig haunted the bars and brawls of the Bowery, particularly around establishments like Bismarck Hall and the House of Commons. He was said to prey on inebriated patrons, indulging in acts of violence and drinking human blood as if it were wine. His actions and vampiric characteristics made him a fearsome presence among the drunken revelers of the time. Ludwig's story reflects the fascination with the macabre and the supernatural that permeated urban life in the 19th century. As a Bowery character, he encapsulates the blend of immigrant culture and the gritty reality of city life. His legend, much like other urban myths of the time, illustrates how societal fears and the allure of the unknown can manifest in the form of memorable characters like Ludwig the Bloodsucker. The demon cat is a ghostly feline said to haunt Washington, D.C., primarily within the White House and the United States Capitol. This legend dates back to the mid-1800s, when cats were introduced to the Capitol's basement tunnels to control the rodent population. It's believed that one of these cats remained even after its death, making its home in the Capitol's basement crypt, originally intended for President George Washington. According to lore, the demon cat appears before significant events, such as presidential elections and tragedies, with notable sightings reported by security guards on the eve of the assassinations of Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Descriptions of the cat vary. It is often depicted as either a black or tabby cat of normal size, but witnesses claim it can expand to the size of a giant tiger or even an elephant, measuring about 10 feet across. The cat is said to leap at or explode toward those who encounter it, disappearing before contact. The last official sighting occurred in the 1940s, during the aftermath of World War II. Some explanations for the legend suggest it may have originated from a security guard mistaking a regular cat for a larger creature fueled by intoxication and the desire for time off. Steve Livengood, chief tour guide of the U.S. Capitol Historical Society, posits that the myth evolved as guards sought to capitalize on the legend for a day off. The Dewey Lake Monster, also known as the Sister Lake Sasquatch, is a legendary creature in Michigan folklore, reported to resemble an ape-like being similar to Bigfoot. Allegedly sighted near Dewey Lake and Sister Lakes in Dowagiac during the summer of 1964, the creature was described as standing about 10 feet tall, weighing around 500 pounds, and possessing glowing eyes. The legend gained national attention when local residents reported seeing the creature in June 1964. Despite police searches yielding no evidence, the sightings attracted a wave of thrill-seekers and monster hunters to the area. Local businesses capitalized on the frenzy, selling novelty items like monster getaway gas and monster hunting kits, while Chicago newspapers humorously dubbed Sister Lakes Monster Town, USA. Skeptics, including zoologists and local law enforcement, suggested that witnesses might have misidentified bears or gorillas. The excitement surrounding the monster quickly faded, with reports soon indicating that residents no longer felt frightened. In a retrospective piece from 1983, it was suggested that the monster sightings may have originated from intoxicated strawberry pickers. Historian Steve Arsenault characterized the tale as a rural legend, implying that it likely stemmed from imagination rather than actual encounters. Mo'o are shape-shifting lizard spirits in Hawaiian mythology, often appearing as monstrous reptiles, tiny geckos, or humans. Revered as aumakua, they have power over weather and water, and many fish ponds in Hawaii are believed to house them. When a mo'o dies, its petrified body becomes part of the landscape, and most are said to be female. One notable legend involves Pele, the volcano goddess, who sends her sister Hi'iaka to rescue a mortal lover. During her journey, Hi'iaka encounters various mo'o. When they reach a ravine, a slender plank appears, but Hi'iaka realizes it's the tongue of the man-eating Mo'o Kikipua. She chases and defeats it. Mo'o are also said to possess powers, including weather manipulation. In Waialua, Oahu, fishermen call upon the spirit of Nain Rouge, a mo'o who fell in love with a chief. After her identity was revealed, she cleverly trapped her betrayers, ensuring they fill the fish traps of those who seek her help. Another famous tale tells of Hina, the moon goddess, who was pursued by the giant Mo'okuna. To escape, she transformed into a rock. Once the serpent passed, she emerged and turned Mo'okuna into stone. Mo'o are viewed as both guardians and feared predators, with their petrified bodies becoming part of the landscape, including rocks associated with water guardians and nearby volcanoes. In American folklore, Chessie is a legendary sea monster said to inhabit the Chesapeake Bay. The first claims of sightings date back to 1936 and have evolved over time into a cultural symbol associated with the environmental health of the bay. The earliest alleged sighting occurred in 1936 when a military helicopter reportedly observed something reptilian and unknown in the water, though this account is considered dubious due to historical inaccuracies about helicopter flights at that time. In 1943, two fishermen near Baltimore described a creature about 12 feet long, with a head resembling that of a horse, which turned its head almost completely around. Throughout the years, various sightings have been reported, including in 1978 near Calvert Cliffs State Park, and in 1982 when Robert and Karen Frew claimed to have videotaped Chessie moving in the water. A notable sighting in 1997 occurred off Fort Smallwood Park. The most recent report was on April 5, 2014, when a Maryland resident saw a snake-like creature estimated at 25 to 30 feet long, which moved with a serpentine motion near his car. Chessie has also become an environmental icon for the Chesapeake Bay, featured in educational materials by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The character represents both the folklore surrounding the bay and its ecological advocacy, symbolizing the need to protect this vital ecosystem. In the 1820s, Welsh and Cornish miners brought stories of the Tommyknockers, mischievous beings known for stealing unattended items and giving warning knocks, to western Pennsylvania. These miners, especially sought after the gold and silver rushes, spread the tales to Colorado, Nevada, and California. The underground elves became a part of mining folklore across the American West, not just among Cornish miners. When asked about potential workers, Cornish miners would often respond with something like, "Well, me cousin Jack over in Cornwall would come. Could you pay his boat ride?" This led to them being called Cousin Jacks. They wouldn't enter new mines until assured that the knockers were already present. Even non-Cornish miners, working deep underground with creaking timbers, learned to respect the Tommyknockers. The American version of these beings took on a more ghostly rather than elfish nature. Belief in Tommyknockers persisted into the 20th century. After a large mine closed in 1956 and was sealed 4th, 5th, and 6th generation, Cousin Jacks petitioned the owners to free the knockers, which they did. Belief in these creatures lingered among Nevada miners until the 1930s. The Tommyknocker Brewery in Idaho Springs, Colorado, named after these mythical creatures, began serving in 1994 to cater to the influx of prospectors during the Colorado silver boom. The term knocker also appeared in the folklore of Staffordshire miners. In American folklore, Champ or Champy is a legendary lake monster believed to inhabit Lake Champlain, a 125-mile-long body of fresh water straddling New York and Vermont, with a portion extending into Quebec, Canada. The legend attracts significant tourism in the Burlington, Vermont and Plattsburgh, New York areas, with over 300 reported sightings over the years. The origins of Champ's legend can be traced back to Iroquois tales of giant snakes. The first notable European account comes from Samuel de Champlain in 1609, who purportedly described a large serpent, though evidence for this claim is lacking. A significant sighting occurred in 1819, when Captain Crum reported seeing a serpentine creature estimated at 187 feet long. In 1883, Sheriff Nathan H. Mooney claimed to have seen a water serpent approximately 25 to 30 feet long, prompting many others to come forward with their own encounters. In 1977, Sandra Mancy captured a famous photograph allegedly showing Champ's head above the water, but the lack of the original negative raises doubts about its authenticity. A 2005 video taken by fishermen suggested the presence of a plesiosaur-like creature, though experts noted the absence of clear evidence. Most recently, during post-production for the film Lucy and the Lake Monster, drone footage was discovered showing what appears to be a large creature swimming beneath the water, reviving interest in the ongoing mystery of Champ. In northeastern Ohio and Michigan folklore, Bessie is the name given to a lake monster in Lake Erie, also known as South Bay Bessie or simply the Lake Erie Monster. The first recorded sighting of Bessie occurred in 1817, with more sightings reported intermittently, particularly in the last 3 decades. Bessie is often described as snake-like, measuring between 30 and 40 feet, 9.1 to 12.2 meters, long, at least a foot in diameter, and grayish in color. The earliest account dates back to 1793, when the captain of the sloop, Felicity, startled a large serpent measuring over 16.5 feet. In July 1817, 2 different crews reported encountering a dark serpent, one measuring 30 to 40 feet and another described as copper-colored and 60 feet long. That same year, French settlers near Toledo witnessed a large creature resembling a sturgeon, approximately 20 to 30 feet long, which vanished before they could return. A notable sighting occurred in July 1892, when a ship's crew observed a 50-foot serpent wrestling in the water. In May 1896, 4 witnesses at Crystal Beach saw a 30-foot creature with a dog-shaped head churning the water for 45 minutes before disappearing. Sightings have persisted into 1969, the 1980s, and 1993, leading local marina owner Thomas Solberg to offer a $5,000 reward for anyone who could capture Bessie alive. The Flathead Lake Monster is a legendary creature from Montana folklore, said to inhabit Flathead Lake in northwestern Montana. The tale of the monster comes from a Kootenai legend. Long ago, the first tribe lived on an island in the lake. One winter, two girls crossing the frozen lake spotted antlers sticking through the ice. When they tried to chop them off, the ice broke open, revealing the monster, which shook its giant antlers. The girls used their powers to magically transform and escape, but half the tribe tragically drowned, which is believed to have reduced the Kootenai population. Since then, they avoided the lakeshore, and white settlers later reported sightings of the monster. Local tales date back over 100 years. The first reported sighting was in 1889 by Captain James C. Kerr, who claimed he saw a large whale-like object. Residents nicknamed the creature Flessie, inspired by Loch Ness's Nessie. Sightings of Flessie average 1 or 2 per year, but there were about 13 in 1993. Descriptions vary, but it's usually seen as an eel-like creature, 20 to 40 feet long, with brownish to blue-black skin and grayish-black eyes. One notable story involves a 3-year-old boy who claimed the monster helped him out of the lake. Skeptics attribute sightings to overactive imaginations or natural phenomena, including logs and shadows. In the 1950s, a reward was offered for the superfish of Flathead Lake. A man named C. Leslie Griffith even caught a massive sturgeon, now displayed at the Polson Flathead Historical Museum. The Dark Watchers are mysterious entities in California folklore, often spotted watching travelers in the Santa Lucia Mountains. These figures are described as tall, dark silhouettes, sometimes giant-sized, often seen wearing brimmed hats or carrying walking sticks. They typically appear at twilight or dawn, silently observing from a distance. Legend has it that if someone approaches, they vanish. While sometimes linked to the Chumash people, there's no direct equivalent in their mythology. Spanish settlers reported sightings of these figures, dubbing them Los Vigilantes Oscuros. The Dark Watchers are famously mentioned in John Steinbeck's short story Flight, where characters avoid acknowledging their presence, believing it best to ignore them. Poet Robinson Jeffers also referenced them in his work, describing them as non-human forms watching from the ridges. John Steinbeck's son Thomas claimed to have seen them in childhood and co-authored a book in search of the Dark Watchers, exploring the legend with local testimonies. In the 1960s, a former principal hiking in the Santa Lucias reported seeing a dark figure, which vanished when called out to. Psychologists suggest that exhaustion or isolation might lead to illusions or misinterpretations of natural stimuli. Infrasound from wind can induce feelings of unease, often linked to paranormal experiences. Another possible explanation is the Brocken spectre, an optical illusion occurring under certain conditions, casting the subject's shadow onto a cloud bank and creating the appearance of a large, shadowy figure. Black-eyed children are paranormal creatures from American contemporary legend. Described as resembling children or teenagers with pale skin and entirely black eyes, they are often reported to be seen hitchhiking, begging, or appearing on the doorsteps of homes. While some tabloid sources claim that tales of black-eyed children date back to the 1980s, most of the lore can be traced to 1996, when Texas reporter Brian Bethel posted accounts of 2 encounters on a ghost-related mailing list. Bethel recounted his experience in Abilene, Texas, as well as a similar encounter reported by another individual in Portland, Oregon. These stories gained traction and became classic examples of creepypasta, leading Bethel to publish a FAQ to satisfy the growing interest in the urban legend. The phenomenon further infiltrated pop culture with the 2012 horror film Black-Eyed Kids, which was funded through Kickstarter. Its director noted that the concept of black-eyed children had circulated online for years and intrigued him. In September 2014, the Daily Star published 3 sensationalized stories about sightings of black-eyed children, linking them to the sale of a purportedly haunted pub in Staffordshire and claiming a spike in global sightings. This garnered attention from ghost hunters, some of whom theorize that these children might be extraterrestrials, vampires, or ghosts. However, science writer Sharon A. Hill found no credible documentation supporting these encounters, suggesting they are merely friend-of-a-friend ghost stories, akin to traditional spooky folklore. Mothman is a legendary figure in West Virginian folklore, notably associated with the Point Pleasant area. Sightings of this humanoid creature reportedly took place between November 15, 1966 and December 15, 1967, igniting public fascination and fear. The first reported sighting appeared in the Point Pleasant Register on November 16, 1966, with a headline reading, "Couples see man-sized bird, creature, something." This initial report, along with subsequent sightings, captured the attention of local and then national media, helping to propagate the Mothman legend across the United States. Some researchers believe that these sightings may have been misidentified sandhill cranes or herons, which can appear unusual when seen at night. The Mothman story was significantly popularized by author Gray Barker in 1970 and later expanded upon by John Keel in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies. Keel's work suggested a link between the Mothman sightings and paranormal phenomena, including the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge in 1967, which resulted in 46 fatalities. This connection fueled speculation about the creature as a harbinger of disaster. To celebrate this unique aspect of their heritage, Point Pleasant hosts an annual Mothman Festival, drawing enthusiasts and curious visitors eager to learn more about the mysterious creature and its folklore. The festival includes activities, guest speakers, and a variety of Mothman-themed merchandise, contributing to the town's identity and the enduring fascination with this enigmatic figure. The Stikini is a fascinating creature from Native American mythology, particularly within the folklore of the Seminole tribes. This being is known for its dual nature, embodying both a human form and a monstrous avian guise. In its monstrous form, the Stikini resembles an avian humanoid, specifically akin to an owl-like figure. Some accounts even suggest that it can appear indistinguishable from a regular owl, leading to confusion with other legends like that of the Strix. However, this owl-like manifestation represents only a portion of the Stikini's supernatural essence. When not using its eerie abilities, it appears as an ordinary human, typically of Seminole descent. The Stikini possesses 2 distinct personas, its human form and its monstrous incarnation. The human persona may project a reserved and secretive nature, often hiding its true intentions. Despite its outward appearance, this form can be unpleasant or unlikable, as the Stikini, being a mage, often disregards cultural norms and social taboos. Once the human form sleeps, the Stikini's true, monstrous nature emerges. During this transformation, it uses its powers to hunt and attack its enemies, preferring to steal the still-beating hearts of its victims. After successfully obtaining a heart, the Stikini returns to its human form, preparing the heart in a special magic pot before consuming it. The Stikini's legend serves as a cautionary tale about the hidden dangers that may lurk behind a seemingly kind facade, emphasizing the contrast between its 2 forms and the moral complexities inherent in its character. Sinkhole Sam is a legendary worm-like creature said to inhabit a part of Inman Lake in Kansas known as the Sinkhole. This enigmatic being is also referred to as the Fupengurkel, though the meaning of this term remains unclear. Historically, Kansas was rich with small streams, lakes, and rivers, but much of this landscape has changed due to European colonization, leaving only a few natural bodies of water. Locals speculate that Sinkhole Sam might be a prehistoric creature that lived in submerged underground caverns that connect to the lake. The first recorded sighting occurred when two fishermen reported encountering the creature. Following that, Albert Neufeld and George Regier claimed to see a creature approximately 15 feet long and as thick as an automobile tire. Sightings of Sinkhole Sam have dwindled over the years, leading to speculation about whether the creature has died or retreated back into its underground lair. Interestingly, a similar creature has been reported about 50 miles south at Kingman State Lake, a man-made lake formed from a natural marsh next to the Nineska River. Throughout the early 1900s and into the late 1960s, there were several reports of a large snake in this area. Eyewitness descriptions vary widely, with some claiming it resembled a large python, while others asserted that its girth was so massive that even a tractor couldn't drive over it. A search in the late 60s yielded no results beyond native species. Although this creature has never been named, some believe it may be the same or a related species to Sinkhole Sam. Over time, reports of this snake have declined, but other cryptids like Mothman and Bigfoot have been sighted around Kingman State Lake, adding to the area's mysterious reputation. The Dover Demon is a mysterious creature reportedly sighted on April 21, 1977, in Dover, Massachusetts, about 15 miles southwest of Boston. The encounters, characterized by unusual descriptions and the absence of definitive explanations, continue to intrigue both believers and skeptics. The first sighting was reported by 17-year-old William Bill Bartlett, who claimed to have seen a creature about 4 feet tall with glowing orange eyes, a watermelon-shaped head, and no nose or mouth while driving on Farm Street. That same evening, 15-year-olds John Baxter and Abby Brabham reported similar encounters in different locations. Each teenager sketched the creature, with Bartlett declaring, "I, Bill Bartlett, swear on a stack of Bibles that I saw this creature." The sightings formed a straight line over 2 miles, but they remained unpublicized until mid-May, when they gained attention from local investigators. Various theories have emerged regarding the identity of the creature. Some skeptics suggest it could have been a foal or a moose calf. Investigative skeptic Joe Nickel speculated that the creature might have been a snowy owl, as its size and plumage could have reflected in headlights, creating the peach-colored appearance described by witnesses. The supposed long, spindly arms could resemble the owl's partially opened wings. Authorities even suggested that the reports might have been a hoax, linked to school vacation antics. Additionally, some skeptics pointed out the influence of 1970s pop culture, characterized by fascination with big-headed, alien-like beings. Despite these explanations, the sightings of the Dover Demon remain a captivating enigma in local folklore. The Boo Hag is a compelling figure in the folklore of the Gullah culture, blending elements of witchcraft and vampire mythology within the unique syncretic belief systems of African American communities in the Low Country of South Carolina. The origins of the Boo Hag can be traced to the narratives of Jacob Stroyer, an enslaved person born in 1849 in South Carolina. In his autobiography, he describes the beliefs surrounding hags among the enslaved population. These hags, often thought to be individuals who lived and worked alongside the enslaved, were characterized by their odd appearances as they aged. The community would gather in their cabins at night, and if they saw lights flickering in the distance, often attributed to these hags, they would speculate on which local person had transformed into a witch. The Boo Hag is said to have the ability to ride human beings like horses, stealing their breath while they sleep. This act leaves the victim feeling exhausted and drained upon waking. To protect themselves from these supernatural assaults, those without a Bible would use a mixture of cayenne pepper and salt to create barriers in their living spaces. In addition to Stroyer's accounts, the tales of Boo Hags were documented in the book Drums and Shadows, which collected stories from formerly enslaved people in Georgia. These stories portrayed Boo Hags as witches who had sold their souls to the devil and could transform into various animals or insects, drawing energy from their victims rather than blood. In Gullah folklore, Boo Hags share similarities with vampires, but instead of consuming blood, they thrive on the breath of their victims. The expression, "Don't let the hag ride ya," is sometimes used in South Carolina as a warning, likely stemming from the fear and caution surrounding these spectral beings. The Wendigo legend comes from the Algonquin-speaking tribes in North America, including nations such as the Pequot, Narragansett, and Wampanoag of New England. It's also found in the folklore of Canadian First Nations like the Ojibwe, Chippewa, Potawatomi, and Cree. Some tribal cultures see the Wendigo as pure evil, like the boogeyman. Others believe it's a human taken over by evil spirits as punishment for bad behavior, such as selfishness, gluttony, or cannibalism. Once someone becomes a Wendigo, there's little hope for them. According to Native American folklore, the Wendigo prowls the woods on dark winter nights, searching for human flesh and luring victims with its creepy ability to mimic human voices. When people went missing in the woods, the Wendigo was often blamed. Descriptions of the Wendigo vary, but most say it's about 15 feet tall with a thin, haggard body reflecting its endless hunger for human flesh. In his book, The Manitus, First Nation Canadian author Basil Johnston described the Wendigo as a gaunt skeleton with a strange and eerie odor of decay and death. The Wendigo legend has been passed down through generations. One popular story tells of a Wendigo that was defeated by a little girl who boiled tallow and threw it on the creature, making it small and weak enough to be attacked. Scholars think the Wendigo represents real-world issues like starvation and violence. Its connection to a possessed human may symbolize how these communities view certain taboos or negative behaviors. It's clear that these monsters can take different shapes and forms. Some Native American myths suggest that crossing certain lines can turn people into hideous beings. As Johnston wrote, turning Wendigo can become a reality when someone resorts to destruction in difficult times. The Lizard Man of Scape Ore Swamp is a creature from the folklore of Lee County, South Carolina, first reported in the late 1980s. Described as a tall, lizard-like entity, it gained notoriety following a series of sightings that attracted significant media attention. The legend began on July 14, 1988, when the Lee County Sheriff's Office investigated damage to a car parked near Browntown. The vehicle had tooth marks, scratches, and muddy footprints nearby. Shortly after, a local teenager, Christopher Davis, reported an encounter with a creature he described as green, wet-like, about 7 feet tall, with 3 fingers and red eyes. Davis claimed that after getting a flat tire, he was confronted by the creature, which jumped on his car. His story sparked widespread media coverage and turned the area into a tourist attraction, complete with Lizard Man merchandise. As sightings increased, local radio stations even offered rewards for capturing the creature. On August 5th, Airman Kenneth Orr claimed he had shot and wounded the lizard man, presenting scales and blood as evidence. However, he later admitted to fabricating the story. Despite the initial frenzy, reports of the lizard man declined as summer ended. Law enforcement speculated that many sightings could have been misidentified bears. In 2008, a new wave of interest arose when a couple reported vehicle damage, later confirmed to be from a domestic dog. Skeptics like Ben Radford have pointed out inconsistencies in Davis's story, noting changes in details over time and questioning the feasibility of his claims. Critics argue that no physical evidence of the lizard man has ever been found, and some suggest that Davis may have mistaken a local farmer for the creature during his encounter. In American folklore, the Snallygaster is a legendary creature that combines bird and reptile features, stemming from the superstitions of early German immigrants and sensationalistic newspaper reports. The origins of the Snallygaster date back to the 18th century when German settlers began arriving in Maryland. They spoke of a monster called the Schneller Geist, or Quick Ghost, which terrorized the community. Early descriptions of the creature depicted it as a half-reptile, half-bird chimera with a metallic beak lined with razor-sharp teeth and occasionally possessing octopus-like tentacles. This creature was said to swoop silently from the sky to snatch its victims, and early accounts claimed it would suck the blood of those it captured. Locals believed that seven-pointed stars could ward off the Snallygaster, and remnants of this folklore can still be seen today in painted stars on barns. In the 19th century, the legend experienced a resurgence, possibly as a means to frighten freed slaves. The 20th century brought a wave of publicity for the creature. In February and March of 1909, newspaper accounts detailed encounters with a beast described as having enormous wings, a long pointed bill, and claws likened to steel hooks. This creature allegedly screeched like a locomotive whistle, and the Smithsonian Institution even offered a reward for its hide. Rumor had it that President Theodore Roosevelt considered postponing an African safari to hunt the beast. However, these reports were ultimately revealed to be part of a hoax orchestrated by George C. Roderick, editor of the Middletown Valley Register, and reporter Ralph S. Wolfe, who aimed to boost readership by creating sensational stories that borrowed from existing German folklore and contemporary legends like the Jersey Devil. In Idaho folklore, Charlie, also known as Slimy Slim or the Twilight Dragon of Payette Lake, is a legendary sea serpent reminiscent of the Loch Ness Monster. Many locals believe this mysterious creature resides in the deep alpine waters of Payette Lake near McCall, Idaho. The origins of the legend may trace back to Native American beliefs that an evil spirit inhabited the lake long before Western settlers arrived. The first documented sighting by settlers occurred in 1920 when workers cutting ties at the upper end of the lake mistook a moving creature for a log. This initial sighting sparked interest and curiosity about what might be lurking beneath the lake's surface. A more detailed report emerged in August 1944 when multiple witnesses described the serpent as being 30 to 35 feet long, featuring a dinosaur-like head with pronounced jaws, camel-like humps, and a shell-like skin. Another notable sighting happened in September 1946, when a group of 20 people reported seeing the creature, which Dr. G.A. Taylor of Nampa, Idaho, estimated to be between 30 and 40 feet in length. Witnesses noted that it appeared to dive into the water, leaving a wake similar to that of a small motorboat. In 1954, A. Boone McCallum, the editor of the Star News, organized a contest to name the creature, ultimately selecting the name Charlie. This name was proposed by Lyle Hennifer Turey from Springfield, Virginia, who playfully referenced the catchphrase "Vas you der Charlie" from an old-time radio show hosted by Jack Pearl. Charlie continued to capture the imagination of locals, with reports of sightings occurring dozens of times between 1956 and the last documented sighting in 1997. The legend of Charlie endures, embodying the fascination with cryptids and the mysteries that lie in the depths of Payette Lake. The Beast of Busco is a legendary giant snapping turtle that became a sensation in Indiana folklore after being sighted in 1949. The creature is said to reside in a lake near Churubusco, Indiana, and despite a widespread hunt, it was never captured. The tale of the beast dates back to 1898, when a farmer named Oscar Fouke reported seeing a gigantic turtle in the 7-acre lake on his property. Although he shared his sighting with others, Fouke eventually abandoned the story. Fast forward to July 1948, two local fishermen, Ora Blue and Charlie Wilson, claimed to have spotted a massive turtle weighing an estimated 500 pounds while fishing in the same lake, now referred to as Fouke Lake. Farmer Gail Harris, who owned the land at the time, also reported sightings, leading to increased interest in the creature. In early 1949, the story caught the attention of a reporter in Fort Wayne, and soon the Beast of Busco gained national notoriety. Crowds of curious onlookers flocked to Harris's property, prompting the state police to intervene for traffic control. Doubts about the turtle's existence arose, leading Harris to initiate several attempts to capture it. He even drained the lake to try and catch the creature, but the plan was thwarted when the dam holding back the water broke just before the lake was fully drained. Despite additional efforts, including a failed attempt to send a deep-sea diver into the pond due to equipment issues, the turtle remained elusive. In an effort to document the hunt, Life magazine photographer Mike Shea took 299 photographs at the site, but none were deemed usable. The Beast of Busco has since become a part of local folklore, symbolizing the enduring fascination with cryptids and the mysteries of the natural world. While the giant turtle was never found, its legend continues to capture the imagination of residents and visitors alike. The Loveland Frog is a creature from Ohio folklore, famously described as a humanoid frog about 4 feet tall. The legend first gained traction in the mid-20th century and has been the subject of various reported sightings. The origins of the Loveland Frog legend date back to 1955, when a businessman or traveling salesman reported seeing 3 frog-like creatures standing upright by the side of a road, with descriptions varying slightly across accounts. Some versions include the creatures being spotted under or over a dimly lit bridge, with one wielding a wand that emitted sparks. The story gained renewed attention on March 3, 1972, when Loveland police officer Ray Shockey claimed to have seen an unidentified animal while driving near the Totes Boot Factory. He described the creature as 3 to 4 feet long, weighing 50 to 75 pounds, with leathery skin, and crouched like a frog. According to Shockey, it stood up briefly to climb over a guardrail before disappearing towards the river. 2 weeks later, Officer Mark Matthews reported seeing a similar animal in the same area. After shooting the creature, he identified it as a large iguana that was missing its tail, which led him to speculate that it had once been a pet. Matthews showed the iguana's body to Shockey, who confirmed it was the same animal he had previously encountered. Matthews later recounted his story to a writer, who, according to him, omitted the part identifying the creature as an iguana rather than a frogman. Folklore professor Edgar Slotkin has drawn parallels between the Loveland Frog and figures like Paul Bunyan, noting how such stories often circulate in predictable cycles over the years. The legend has sparked local interest and tourism, contributing to Loveland's cultural identity. In 2016, a renewed sighting reported by a second officer further fueled the legend, although it was again attributed to an iguana. The Beast of Bray Road is a wolf-like creature reported in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, that has become a staple of local folklore. Its name derives from the rural road where it was first sighted. Reports of the creature, particularly in the 1980s and 1990s, attracted media attention, leading to investigations by reporter Linda Godfrey. Initially skeptical, Godfrey became convinced of the witness's sincerity, compiling her findings into the book The Beast of Bray Road, Tailing Wisconsin's Werewolf. Witnesses often describe the beast as standing between 6 and 7 feet tall, with a humanoid body covered in fur and a head resembling that of a wolf. It is said to have large, glowing red or orange eyes and has been observed moving on both 2 and 4 legs. Some accounts compare it to traditional werewolves or Bigfoot. The first sighting of the creature reportedly occurred in 1936 at St. Coletta School for Exceptional Children. In the late 20th century, witnesses reported encounters with the beast that involved it leaving scratch marks on vehicles. One notable account involved a woman who hit something while driving on Bray Road. When she exited her vehicle to check, a large, wolf-like creature with glowing eyes chased her back inside, leaving claw marks on her car. Further sightings included unusual animal mutilations, where remains of deer and livestock were found with specific organs removed. Some witnesses reported seeing the creature eating roadkill, while others noted its large size as it ran through cornfields, even chasing deer. Alleged sightings of a large, upright, hair-covered creature continued into 2018 and 2020 in nearby Spring Prairie and Lyons. Skeptics suggest that the Beast of Bray Road may be misidentified gray wolves, large dogs, or even black bears suffering from mange. Hoaxes and mass hysteria are also considered possible explanations for the phenomenon, leading to normal animal sightings being conflated under the same legend. Skinwalkers are creepy, animal-like creatures from the old folklore of various Native American tribes in the southwest United States, especially the Navajo, Pueblo, Apache, and Hopi peoples. They're one of many shape-shifting monsters found in Native American legends. People usually describe skinwalkers as having a beastly, deformed body, a distorted but still human-like face, and glowing orange-red eyes. The stories about how these creatures came to be differ among tribes. Some say skinwalkers were once powerful medicine men who gave in to the temptation of using their powers for evil. Others believe skinwalkers are humans, men, women, or even children, who are cursed after committing a terrible sin. No matter the origin story, the myth of skinwalkers is well known in indigenous communities. These creatures are said to be incredibly powerful and nearly impossible to kill. The only way to defeat them is with a bullet or knife dipped in white ash, kind of like the werewolf's weakness to silver bullets in popular culture. In many indigenous cultures, especially among the Navajo, it's considered bad luck to talk about skinwalkers. Speaking about them is believed to make their appearance more likely, so Navajo people are often reluctant to discuss skinwalkers with outsiders. Despite this, the legend of skinwalkers has spread to the general public. In 1996, the Deseret News reported on a Utah family that experienced terrifying events on their ranch, including their livestock being mysteriously killed and mutilated. Witnesses claimed to see an unknown animal that was incredibly fast and made terrifying sounds. This ranch, now called Skinwalker Ranch, has become famous for paranormal activity. However, it's important to understand that our knowledge of these Native American legends is limited. The Navajo and other indigenous people are understandably hesitant to share details with outsiders. Native scholar Adrian Keene has pointed out that non-native writers often misuse these stories, which can harm native communities. The lava bear, also known as the sandlapper or dwarf grizzly, is a legendary creature that was believed to inhabit the lava beds of south-central Oregon. It is described as a small bear with woolly, light brown fur, similar to a grizzly but only slightly larger than a badger. Initially thought to be a separate species, it was later determined that these bears were actually American black bears, Ursus americanus, that had stunted growth due to harsh environmental conditions. When first discovered in the early 20th century, lava bears were suspected to be a unique species, possibly a dwarf grizzly. They were small, measuring between 17 to 30 inches long and standing 12 to 18 inches high, weighing between 23 to 35 pounds. Some specimens showed signs of age, like gray hair on their muzzles and worn claws. One of the first specimens was sent to the United States Bureau of Biological Survey, where scientists confirmed it was an unusually small American black bear. From 1917 to the early 1930s, sightings of small bears in the lava beds led to the term lava bear. The first documented encounter was by sheepherder O.T. McKendry in 1917, who mistakenly thought he shot a black bear cub. His mounted specimen gained attention, and a photograph was published in Oregon's Sportsman magazine. This publicity drew interest from hunters, including writer Irvin S. Cobb, who organized a trip to find the creature, but left without success. In 1923, trapper Alfred Andrews killed a lava bear and sent it for examination. He later captured a live lava bear, which he displayed to thousands before it mysteriously vanished. Several other lava bears were captured throughout the 1920s and early 1930s, but by the end of this period, scientists concluded that all of these bears were actually small American black bears suffering from malnutrition. Today, it's widely accepted that lava bears never existed as a distinct species. The Tuttlebottoms monster is a legendary creature that has captured the imagination of residents in Saline County, Illinois, particularly in the swampy region north of Harrisburg, along the Saline River watershed. Described as an ape-like and hairy creature with a long snout reminiscent of an anteater, the Tuttlebottoms monster has become a part of local folklore, with reports of sightings dating back to the 1960s. The legend gained traction over the years, with former Harrisburg Police Chief Gary Crabtree noting that his department received around 50 reports of an unidentified beast in the Tuttlebottoms area over a span of 28 years. Witness accounts vary, with some describing the creature as bipedal and others claiming it had 4 legs, but many consistently mention its distinctive long snout. One notable report from August 6, 1963, detailed an encounter involving Saline County Sheriff James L. Thompson. After receiving a call about a monster in the area, he met a young man armed with a rifle who claimed the creature was approximately 8 feet long and 4 feet high. The sheriff soon encountered a group of boys also searching for the monster, armed with shotguns and other weapons. Concerned for their safety, he dispersed the group and sent them home. Local resident Virgil Smith offered an alternative perspective, suggesting that the creature might not be a mythical beast, but rather an animal released by the federal government that has since perished. He described it as a hairy primate capable of walking on 2 legs, and reported that it showed little fear of humans, with one couple claiming the creature approached them directly. Smith also mentioned that a former U.S. Department of Agriculture employee had indicated a private investigation into the Tuttlebottoms monster. Reports of the Tuttlebottoms monster often originated from teenagers using the area as a makeout spot, or from hunters who called the police in a panic after sighting the creature. The tales surrounding the monster have persisted, intertwined with rumors of violence in the area, further cementing its status in local folklore. In Kentucky folklore, the Milton lizard is a creature that has intrigued locals since it was first sighted in the summer of 1975. Described as resembling a massive 15-foot monitor lizard, it was purportedly seen near Canip Creek, close to the town of Milton in Trimble County. The initial encounter with the creature occurred in July, when Clarence "Tuffy" Cable, co-manager of the Bluegrass Body Shop, a junkyard located north of Milton, spotted the lizard while walking through the yard. Cable described the creature as having large, frog-like eyes and a distinctive off-white coloration beneath its mouth. Its body was marked with black and white stripes, interspersed with quarter-sized speckles. Startled, the creature hissed at him multiple times before retreating behind the wrecked vehicles. On July 27th, Cable's brother Garrett had his own encounter. While working at the junkyard, he noticed a pile of old car hoods vibrating and shifting as the lizard's head and shoulders emerged from underneath the debris. Alarmed, Garrett rushed to find Clarence, but by the time they returned, armed and ready, the creature had vanished. The following day, Clarence spotted the lizard again, this time appearing even larger, almost 15 feet long. After throwing a rock at it, he watched as it hissed in response before fleeing into the surrounding brush. He hurried home to retrieve a rifle and fired into the undergrowth, but he couldn't confirm whether he had struck the creature. As sightings continued, a search party was organized in early August to comb the area surrounding the Bluegrass Body Shop for any signs of the lizard. Despite their efforts, no evidence of the creature was discovered. During an investigation by the Trimble Banner, Clarence Cable shared his thoughts on the Milton lizard. He acknowledged that while it bore similarities to a monitor lizard, it was not an exact match. Cable speculated that one of the junked vehicles in the yard might have contained lizard eggs from a western state, which hatched in the heat of the summer. He suggested that as wreckage was removed in the spring, the lizard had fewer places to hide, leading to the increased sightings. Among the oldest Native American myths are the tales from the Iroquois, a confederacy of tribes in the northeastern part of North America. The Iroquois Union formed so long ago that historians don't know exactly when it happened. The Iroquois Confederacy, known in their language as the Haudenosaunee, was made up of 6 tribes: the Cayuga, Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Seneca, and Tuscarora. These tribes not only shared resources, but also many stories. One of the scariest legends in Iroquois culture is the myth of the Canonsistontese, or flying heads. These were disembodied heads with fiery eyes and long, tangled hair that floated through the air, hunting humans to eat. Because Iroquois culture dates back so far, the exact origins of the Canonsistontese are lost to time. There are several versions of how these cannibalistic flying heads came to be. In some stories, the Canonsistontese were created from a violent murder where the victim's severed head came back to life, grew to an enormous size, and sought revenge. Other versions say the Canonsistontese were ancient monsters with an insatiable hunger for human flesh. One particularly haunting version of the legend says the Canonsistontese arose from a brutal betrayal within a tribe that once lived near Sacandaga Lake in present-day New York. According to this story, a terrible famine hit the tribe. The young men suggested moving to find a new home, but the elders believed the famine and harsh winter were a curse from the Master of Life and insisted on staying put. They warned the curse would follow them if they left. This disagreement led to conflict, and the young men murdered the elders by decapitating them and throwing their heads into the lake. The elders' heads, however, came back to life. They merged into a single giant flying head with wings, talons, and covered in black hair. This monstrous head killed the young men and the rest of the tribe. The Canonsistontese are certainly bone-chilling, but they weren't invincible. According to Seneca stories, a widow once defeated a flying head by feeding it burning coal. The Talipo is a fascinating creature from North American folklore, particularly associated with Appalachia. Known by various names, such as Talybone, Talybones, and Talipo, the Talipo is often described as being roughly the size of a dog, with distinctive features like yellow or red eyes, a long tail, and pointed or tufted ears reminiscent of a bobcat. This nocturnal being is covered in dark fur, allowing it to blend into the forest environment, and while it primarily attacks with its claws, it possesses the ability to speak in some form of English, demanding the return of its severed tail. The stories typically unfold at night in a remote, heavily wooded area, reflecting a rural southern setting that could exist in any time period, emphasizing themes of isolation and vulnerability. The narrative generally centers around a hermit living in a log cabin with his 3 dogs. One night, in a time of hunger, the hermit ventures out to hunt. After successfully shooting a hare and sharing it with his dogs, he encounters the Talipo, shooting it and severing its tail. The creature escapes into the darkness, and the man eats the tail, whether raw or cooked in a stew. As the night progresses, the hermit is disturbed by rustling and finds the Talipo at the foot of his bed, demanding the return of its Talipo. Terrified, he calls his dogs to chase the creature away. However, one dog goes missing with each subsequent encounter, leaving the man increasingly defenseless. In a climactic moment, the Talipo confronts the hermit directly, leading to a grisly ending where the man is flayed beyond recognition, leaving only the chimney of his cabin as evidence of the encounter. In some versions, the creature can be heard whispering for its Talipo in the darkest nights, suggesting its ongoing presence and hunger for revenge. The legend of the Talipo has numerous variations, often shaped by oral tradition. Common elements include the themes of hunger and survival, the reliance on dogs for protection, and the consequences of mistreatment of animals. While some variations depict the dogs as simply getting lost or fleeing, others include darker details of their fate. The seasonal setting is usually late autumn, adding to the eerie atmosphere of the tale. The Walgren Lake Monster, also known as the Alkali Lake Monster or Giganticus brutervius, is a cryptid reported to inhabit Walgren Lake near Hay Springs, Nebraska. Descriptions of the creature vary widely, with accounts ranging from an alligator-like beast to a giant catfish or mud puppy. One of the most notable early sightings came from a local man named J.A. Johnson, who described the creature as being dull, gray, or brown, much larger and heavier than an alligator with a horn situated between its eyes and nostrils. Johnson and 2 companions claimed to have observed the monster from about 20 yards away, estimating its length to be around 40 feet. Other witnesses have suggested it resembles an unusually large beaver, while some legends describe it as a horned beast that preys on livestock and ducks. The origins of the Walgren Lake Monster legend are intertwined with Native American stories about similar creatures. The initial reports of a lake monster causing havoc by devouring livestock sparked widespread curiosity and were even reported by the London Times. Articles from the time detailed attempts to capture the elusive creature, though these efforts proved unsuccessful. In her 1935 biography Old Jewel, author Mary Sandoz highlighted the notoriety of the monster, noting that some local fundamentalist Christians believed it to be a creation of Satan meant to test the faith of the community. As the legend evolved, the creature was ascribed supernatural abilities. Reports in the late 1930s described its massive size, causing the ground to tremble whenever it moved, leading to farmers feeling seasick from the vibrations. An article published in Outdoor Nebraska in January 1962 reiterated these fantastical claims, stating that the monster's movements could even displace unsuspecting travelers, propelling them over 100 miles away. While the Walgren Lake Monster's legend may have been a sensational creation by John G. Maher, a Nebraska politician and newspaperman known for other hoaxes, it has nevertheless become a beloved symbol for the village of Hay Springs. The community has embraced the legend, producing commemorative merchandise like shirts and buttons, and even creating a replica of the monster based on Johnson's original description. In folklore, the Michigan Dogman is a legendary creature reportedly sighted in 1887 in Wexford County, Michigan. Described as a 7-foot-tall, bipedal, canine-like being with blue or amber eyes, it is said to have the body of a man and the head of a dog. The creature is infamous for its terrifying howl, which resembles a human scream. According to local legends, the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle, specifically in years ending in 7. Sightings have been reported in various locations throughout Michigan, primarily in the northwestern quadrant of the Lower Peninsula, where many believers assert that simply clapping can scare it away. The history of the Michigan Dogman is steeped in mystery, as the creature remained largely unknown to the modern world until the late 20th century. It is rumored to have stalked the area around the Manistee River since the time of the Odawa tribes. The first documented encounter occurred in 1887 when 2 lumberjacks claimed to have seen a creature with a man's body and a dog's head. Subsequent reports include a 1937 incident in Paris, Michigan, where Robert Fortney was attacked by a pack of wild dogs, one of which allegedly walked on 2 legs. Further sightings emerged in Allegan County during the 1950s and in Manistee and Cross Village in 1967. Folklore researcher Linda S. Godfrey has drawn parallels between the Michigan Dogman and a similar creature known as the Beast of Bray Road, which has been reported in Wisconsin. The legend gained significant traction in 1987 when disc jockey Steve Cook at WTCM-FM in Traverse City recorded a song titled The Legend. Originally conceived as an April Fool's Day prank, Cook had never heard of the Michigan Dogman prior to the recording. He later expressed skepticism about the creature's existence, but acknowledged that people who claim to have seen it genuinely believe in their experiences. Following the song's airplay, Cook received numerous calls from listeners recounting their own encounters. The song quickly became the most requested on his station, and Cook sold cassettes of it, donating proceeds to an animal shelter. Over the years, he has received over 100 reports of the Dogman's existence. The Bear Lake Monster is an urban legend from the area near Bear Lake on the Utah-Idaho border. The myth started in the 19th century thanks to Joseph C. Rich, a local settler who shared second-hand accounts of sightings. He later admitted the stories were false. Today, the monster is more of a tourist attraction. The last sighting was reported in 2002. Reports about the Bear Lake Monster are consistent. Folklorists describe it as serpent-like, but with legs about 18 inches long, moving along the shore. One article noted a large, light cream-colored body, about 30 feet long, seen 3 miles away, moving quickly through the water. Others claimed it was at least 50 feet long, with a head resembling that of a cow, otter, crocodile, or walrus. Some descriptions even mention spikes along its spine and suggest there may be more than one creature. An 1868 article in the Deseret News discussed a serpent-like creature in Bear Lake, stirring excitement among locals. Joseph C. Rich recounted several sightings that residents claimed to have witnessed, and soon, many people were convinced of its existence. LDS church leaders investigated and spoke to residents, finding them convinced of the monster's reality. The Deseret News published various articles, some skeptical and others supportive, while other local papers ridiculed the stories. Interest in the monster led to rumors of an underground connection between Bear Lake and the Great Salt Lake. Even Brigham Young investigated, sending a rope to help capture it. A local even suggested a baited hook and buoy to lure the creature for show business. Eventually, interest waned, and Rich admitted it was all a wonderful first-class lie. Despite Rich's confession, sightings continued. In 1907, a letter claimed 2 men saw the monster attack their camp, and there were reports in 1937 and 1946 as well. The last sighting was in June 2002, when local business owner Brian Hershey claimed to have seen it. The Bear Lake Monster has become part of local folklore, leading to quirky tourist attractions like a boat shaped like a monster for scenic cruises and playful events during local festivals, such as naming contests where kids suggested names like Isabella. The Gloucester sea serpent is a legendary creature entwined in the maritime lore of Gloucester, Massachusetts, and the Cape Ann area. Its notoriety peaked in the late 1810s, with numerous sightings and captivating tales that have persisted for centuries, continuing even into the modern era. While indigenous peoples had long shared stories of sea serpents, the first recorded sighting occurred in 1817, when a group of fishermen described encountering a 60-foot, 18 m, serpent-like creature with a turtle-like head off the coast. This sighting marked the beginning of a wave of reported encounters that captivated the public imagination. One of the most notable incidents involved the crew of the schooner Caravan, who in August 1817 claimed to have seen a massive creature swimming alongside their vessel. In a desperate attempt to prove the creature's existence, they fired a cannon at it, but it vanished beneath the waves, sparking further intrigue. Over the years, the descriptions of the Gloucester sea serpent varied significantly, with witnesses offering different perspectives. Some described it as a long, snake-like entity, while others depicted a humpbacked creature reminiscent of a horse or even a dinosaur. The sheer volume of sightings, from fishermen to sailors, along with a report from the Linnean Society, has made it one of the most documented sea serpent sightings in history. Despite this, skepticism surrounds its existence, with theories suggesting it could be misidentified, marine animals, or even a hoax. The most recent significant sighting reportedly occurred around 1980, when the crew of a Gloucester fishing vessel claimed to have had an up-close encounter. Initially silent about the event, they eventually shared their experience, describing the creature as possessing serpentine eyes that exuded a sense of evil. This experience left them shaken, and they reportedly never spoke of it again. The Gloucester sea serpent has attracted the attention of cryptozoologists, including the field's pioneer, Bernard Heuvelmans. In his book, In the Wake of the Sea Serpents, Heuvelmans catalogued numerous sightings. Some witnesses reported seeing a spear or stinger protruding from the creature's head, leading investigators like Joe Nickel to speculate that the serpent might actually be a narwhal, known for its long tusk resembling a spear. Two-Toed Tom is a notorious legendary alligator that has become part of folklore in the southern United States, particularly in Florida and Alabama. His name stems from the fact that he has lost all but 2 toes on 1 or more feet, a consequence of encounters with steel traps. The origins of the Two-Toed Tom legend can be traced back to the 1920s, with one of the earliest accounts appearing in 1922 through Ralph Dupree, a councilman from Esto, Florida, who recalled hearing stories about the creature since he was a child. The first written mention of Two-Toed Tom appears in Carl Kalmer's 1934 book, Stars Fell on Alabama, where he describes a massive 14-foot alligator with glowing red eyes. This fearsome creature was said to prey on livestock and even attack humans, with tales suggesting that it would assault its victims before consuming them. The lore around Two-Toed Tom includes numerous failed attempts to hunt him down. One particularly notable account involves an ex-military sharpshooter who waited in a hunting blind for over a week, only to come away empty-handed. In another incident, a local farmer named Pap Haynes chased the alligator into a pond and attempted to kill it by tossing in 15 syrup buckets of dynamite. But this plan also failed. According to the stories, after terrorizing Alabama, Two-Toed Tom eventually made his way to Florida, although an old man named Gilmore speculated that he would return to Alabama eventually. Later accounts describe Two-Toed Tom as taking up residence in Sand Hammock Lake, located between Esto and Noma, Florida. He was said to continue his reign of terror, frequently devouring livestock and responding with loud bellows to the whistle of the Alabama-Florida Lumber Company mill in Noma. Despite continued efforts to hunt him down, including a group of local boys shooting at him with rifles and shotguns, the alligator remained elusive. The legend of Two-Toed Tom resurfaced in 1972 when an article in the Pensacola News Journal reported the discovery of two-toed tracks on Boynton Island near the community of Redhead, Florida. This sighting reignited interest in the legendary creature, keeping the stories of Two-Toed Tom alive in Southern folklore and ensuring that his fearsome reputation endures. The sewer alligator is an urban legend that suggests alligators thrive in sewer systems outside their natural habitats. This myth has particularly taken root in cities like New York and Paris, where tales of fully grown alligators lurking in the sewers have circulated despite there being no substantial evidence to support such claims. Occasionally, small alligators are indeed rescued from sewer systems, indicating that while some reptiles may enter these underground networks, their long-term survival is unlikely due to cold temperatures and unsanitary conditions. The origins of the sewer alligator legend trace back to the late 1920s and early 1930s, where it has since evolved into a contemporary myth. The New York Times reported that the city rescues around 100 alligators annually, primarily from illegal pet owners or in areas attracting attention above ground. While some alligators may escape into the sewers, the maintenance crews consistently assert that a sustained underground population is implausible. As the legend grew, so did its narrative complexity. Stories began to emerge about how these alligators, abandoned by their owners, would survive in the sewers, reproduce, and grow to monstrous sizes, instilling fear in sewer workers. One particularly vivid account comes from Robert Daly's book, The World Beneath the City, published in 1959, where a sewer worker reportedly encountered a large albino alligator. This story and others led to the development of a mythos around sewer alligators, including tales that February 9th is celebrated as Alligators in the Sewers Day in Manhattan. The legend also intersects with historical anecdotes. Souvenir shops in Florida sold live baby alligators, which tourists would often take back to New York City. Once these alligators became too large to handle, some were purportedly flushed down toilets, leading to the belief that they survived and established themselves in the sewer system. While many of the original reports from the 1930s remain dubious, some speculating they were exaggerated accounts from Teddy May, the commissioner of sewers at the time, there have been various accounts of alligators in the sewers since. May's efforts to eradicate these supposed alligators included poisoning and flushing them out into areas where hunters waited, but he later claimed that alligators were no longer a problem, even as reports continued sporadically through the years. The Goatman is a well-known cryptid in Maryland folklore, particularly associated with the area of Prince George's County. This creature has become a staple of local legend, with various sightings and tales that have evolved over the decades. The Goatman legend reportedly began gaining traction in the early 1970s, although some stories trace back to the late 1930s. Initial accounts describe the creature in connection with mysterious disappearances and deaths of local dogs, which residents attributed to the Goatman. However, investigations suggested that these deaths might have been caused by passing trains rather than a predatory cryptid. Despite the lack of evidence, the legend persisted, particularly among students and locals, often manifested in graffiti declaring, "Goatman was here." Witness accounts of the Goatman vary significantly, with common descriptions portraying it as having a human face but a body covered in hair. Some interpretations liken it to a hairy humanoid, while others suggest a more mythological appearance, resembling a faun from Greek lore, with the upper body of a human and the lower body of a goat. The creature was often rumored to inhabit makeshift shelters in the wooded areas of northeastern Prince George's County, particularly near abandoned trailer parks. The Goatman gained further prominence in 1971, particularly after a report by journalist Karen Hosler in the Prince George's County News. This report detailed the Goatman's supposed location near Fletchertown Road in Bowie, Maryland, while also exploring the theory that the creature originated from experiments at the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. These tales captured the imagination of the local community, leading to numerous reported sightings, many of which turned out to be pranks or exaggerations. Several variations of the Goatman legend have emerged over the years. One popular version posits that the Goatman was once Dr. Stephen Fletcher, a scientist at the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. According to this story, an experiment involving goats went awry, mutating him into a half-man, half-goat creature that began terrorizing the area, particularly attacking cars near Beltsville. Another variation presents the Goatman as an old hermit who roamed the woods at night, often seen walking along Fletchertown Road. Folklorist Barry Pearson of the University of Maryland has noted that the Goatman legend is deeply rooted in local culture, suggesting that it has been perpetuated by bored teenagers sharing stories and spreading rumors about the creature attacking couples at local lovers' lanes. This storytelling has fueled interest in specific locations, notably Fletchertown Road, where many sightings have reportedly occurred. The Pend Oreille paddler is a cryptid believed to inhabit Lake Pend Oreille in North Idaho. Many skeptics dismiss sightings of this creature as misidentifications of naval submarines on practice dives, oversized sturgeons, waterlogged trees, or even stolen boats and off-the-rails railroad cars. The first reported sighting of the Pend Oreille paddler dates back to 1944. Upon learning the date, many locals speculated that the creature might actually be a submarine from the Farragut Naval Training Center, which is now Farragut State Park. The practice of submarines diving in Lake Pend Oreille began during World War II and continued through the Cold War, leading some to believe that odd shapes seen below the water could be these vessels. Sightings resumed in the 1970s, reviving rumors of a large silver monster in the lake. A notable incident occurred in 1977 when a young girl playing at Sandpoint City Beach survived an alleged monster attack, leading reporters to dub the creature the Pend Oreille Paddler, a name that has since persisted. In 1983, a local professor at North Idaho College, James R. McLeod, established a cryptozoology club and became intrigued by the legend after reading an appendix in Lauren Coleman's book, Mysterious America. McLeod's team of researchers set out to investigate the lake. Their investigation led to the discovery that a tabloid photo claiming to show the paddler was actually a 12-foot-long papier-mâché catfish used in a 1974 Sandpoint play. Despite this revelation, MacLeod proposed that the monster could be a real deep-water fish, potentially a prehistoric sturgeon. Another sighting occurred in 1985, when a Coeur d'Alene teacher named Julie Green spotted a gunmetal grey object just a few hundred yards from her boat. Supporters of MacLeod's research argue that this description lends credibility to a theory suggesting that the US Navy may have created the monster as a cover for secret nuclear submarine and sonar testing in Lake Pend Oreille. The last officially documented sighting happened in 2007, when a photo purportedly showing the paddler was sent to the Cryptomundo website and reported by cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman. In 2009, Dr. Michael A. Delahoyd from Washington State University created a monsters course for the English department, incorporating MacLeod's research into discussions about lake monsters. The study of local folklore continued with the release of Nicholas Redfern's Monsters of the Deep in 2021, keeping the legend of the Pend Oreille paddler alive in contemporary culture. The White River Monster is a notable figure in Arkansas folklore, with its first reported sightings occurring along the banks of the White River near Newport in northeastern Arkansas. Locally, the creature is affectionately known as Whitey, and despite being labeled a monster, it is cherished by residents in the area. The legend of the White River Monster began in 1915, when a plantation owner observed the creature and described it as having gray skin, measuring as wide as a car and 3 cars long. As word spread, efforts to capture the creature began with the construction of a rope net, but the project was abandoned due to financial constraints. In early January 1937, recreational fishermen reported difficulties catching fish, coinciding with renewed sightings of the monster. Bramlett Bateman, a nearby plantation owner, confirmed sightings, describing the creature as having the skin of an elephant, measuring 4 to 5 feet wide and 12 feet long, with a face resembling that of a catfish. Concerned that the creature posed a threat to his crops, Bateman sought permission to use TNT to blow up the eddy where the monster was spotted, but local authorities denied his request. This led to a minor media frenzy, attracting visitors and enthusiasts from across the country, some arriving with cameras, explosives, and even a machine gun. However, after no further sightings and failed attempts to capture the creature, Bateman was suspected of orchestrating a hoax, despite over 100 confirmed sightings during this period. The White River Monster was sighted again in the summer of 1971, with eyewitnesses describing it as the size of a boxcar, featuring a bone protruding from its forehead. Witnesses reported its skin appearing smooth yet peeling, along with strange noises reminiscent of a cow's moo and a horse's neigh. Some accounts noted 3-toed tracks measuring 14 inches in length, leading from Towhead Island down to the river, marked by bent trees and crushed bushes. In 1973, the Arkansas State Legislature took steps to protect the creature by passing a bill introduced by State Senator Robert Harvey, which established the White River Monster Refuge along the river. This protected area spans from Old Grand Glaze to Rosie, making it illegal to harm the monster within the refuge. Despite the creature's existence being a subject of local law, its classification remains contentious. Biologist Roy McCall proposed that the creature might be an elephant seal. However, critics, including Joe Nickell, pointed out that the White River is outside their natural range. Nickell suggested that the sightings could be attributed to Florida manatees, also known as sea cows. The Pope Lick Monster, colloquially known as the Goat Man, is a legendary creature that is said to inhabit the area beneath a railroad trestle bridge over Pope Lick Creek in the Fisherville neighborhood of Louisville, Kentucky. This enigmatic being is described as part man, part goat, and part sheep. Numerous urban legends surround the creature, detailing its origins and the methods it supposedly uses to lure its victims. Some accounts suggest that the goat man uses hypnosis or voice mimicry to entice trespassers onto the trestle, leading them to their demise in front of oncoming trains. Other tales claim that the monster jumps down onto the roofs of cars passing below, while some versions depict it attacking with a blood-stained axe. There are even stories that assert the sight of the creature is so terrifying that it drives those who see it to leap off the trestle. Various legends detail the creature's backstory, suggesting it could be a human-goat hybrid, possibly a circus freak seeking revenge for mistreatment. One story proposes that the creature escaped after a train derailed on the trestle, while another local version claims it is the twisted reincarnation of a farmer who sacrificed goats for satanic powers. These legends have turned the area into a popular site for thrill seekers, known as legend trippers, despite the inherent dangers. There have been multiple deaths and accidents at the trestle since its construction, even with an 8-foot fence erected to keep out trespassers. A common misconception about the trestle is that it is abandoned. However, it serves as a vital rail artery into Louisville, with heavy freight trains crossing multiple times a day. This poses a significant danger to anyone caught on the trestle, as they could easily find themselves in the path of an oncoming train. Norfolk Southern Railway has warned the public against climbing the trestle, emphasizing that trespassers could face arrest. Tragically, several people have lost their lives while pursuing the legend of the Huggin Monster. In 1988, a 17-year-old was killed by a train while crossing the trestle, and another individual was injured during the same incident. A similar fate befell a man in 1994 when he was trapped on the tracks after his ATV overturned. In 2000, a 19-year-old fell to his death after encountering a train on the trestle. The dangers continued into recent years, with a tragic incident on April 23, 2016, when a 26-year-old tourist was hit and killed by a train while searching for the monster, though her boyfriend managed to survive by hanging onto the side of the trestle. The most recent incident occurred on May 26, 2019, when a 15-year-old girl was pronounced dead at the scene after being struck by a train while she and another girl were on the tracks. The Enfield Monster, a creature reported in Enfield, Illinois in April 1973, became a sensation following eyewitness accounts that captured media attention. Descriptions of this unidentified being ranged from being a wild ape to an escaped kangaroo, leading to debates about its true nature. The incident began on the night of April 25, 1973, when Henry McDaniel reported hearing scratching at his front door. Upon investigation, he claimed to have seen a creature with 3 legs, a short body, and 2 large pink eyes. He described it as standing about 4.5 feet tall and resembling a human body. In a moment of panic, he shot at the creature, which reportedly hissed like a wildcat and then leaped away, covering a significant distance in just a few bounds. Authorities found dog-like footprints nearby, but McDaniel's assertions stirred both fascination and skepticism. A neighbor, 10-year-old Greg Garrett, claimed to have encountered the creature first, but later admitted it was a hoax intended to tease McDaniel. Just 2 weeks later, McDaniel alleged another sighting, reporting that the creature was negotiating the railroad trestles near his home. A search party, including a radio news director, claimed to have seen an ape-like creature in an abandoned building nearby, which they recorded before it fled. Media coverage of the events was extensive, with reports spreading across multiple newspapers and radio stations. The heightened interest led to fears among local residents that monster hunters might cause chaos especially after a group of men was arrested while attempting to photograph the creature, armed with rifles and wood shotguns. Speculation arose regarding the creature's identity. Some suggested it could have been an escaped kangaroo, with the 3 legs description attributed to its tail. McDaniel, however, rejected this theory, citing his familiarity with kangaroos from his military service in Australia. Others speculated it could have been a wild ape, as similar reports had emerged in the Mississippi area since 1941. In 1978, researchers from Western Illinois University examined the Enfield Monster case as a study in social contagion, noting how a few original sightings had transformed into a broader phenomenon fueled by media and gossip. They suggested that large dogs, bears, or exotic pets might have been mistaken for the creature, emphasizing that the incident was largely exaggerated. The study highlighted the role of collective behavior in shaping perceptions of the Enfield monster, suggesting that while McDaniel's experiences may have been genuine, they were magnified by public fascination and media coverage. Ultimately, the Enfield monster remains an intriguing example of how folklore can emerge from community narratives driven by shared emotions and experiences. Melonheads are small, humanoid creatures characterized by bulbous heads, commonly found in the folklore of Ohio, Michigan, and Connecticut. These beings are often said to emerge from hiding places to attack unsuspecting individuals, and their legends vary in origin across regions. In Michigan, melonheads are closely associated with Felt Mansion and the surrounding forests of Ottawa County. According to local law, they originated from children with hydrocephalus who lived at the Junction Insane Asylum near Felt Mansion. After enduring abuse, these children escaped into the woods, becoming feral. Although the Allegan County Historical Society claims that no such asylum ever existed, the legend has persisted for decades. Some variations suggest that the children plotted to kill their abusive doctor, dismembering him and hiding his body around the mansion. The legend has also inspired cultural works such as the 2011 film The Melonheads, showcasing its impact on regional storytelling. In Ohio, particularly in the suburb of Kirtland, melonheads are said to have been orphans under the care of a mysterious figure known as Dr. Crow. Allegedly, he conducted experiments on the children, resulting in their large, hairless heads and malformed bodies. After killing him and burning down the orphanage, the children retreated into the nearby forests, rumored to prey on babies. Sightings of melonheads are commonly reported along Wisner Road in Kirtland. This legend gained traction online through sites like Creepy Cleveland and Dead Ohio, leading to films like Legend of the Melonheads, 2010, and The Melonheads, House of Crow, 2024. In Connecticut, the Melonheads legend has several variations, particularly in the southwestern part of the state, including towns like Newtown, Shelton, and Trumbull. One story posits that they were patients at a criminally insane asylum that burned down in 1960, with survivors resorting to cannibalism and inbreeding, which led to their bulbous heads. Another version claims they are descendants of a colonial family accused of witchcraft who retreated into the woods, resulting in their peculiar appearance. Many tales mention the presence of secluded roads, often referred to as Dracula Drive, where melonheads are said to lurk. The Melonheads legend showcases a blend of local history, societal fears, and the human tendency to create mythical creatures based on real or imagined events. The stories reflect a common folklore theme of deformed or mutated humans living in isolation, contributing to American urban legends. Folklore surrounding deformed or mutated beings can be found in various forms across Fairfield and New Haven counties, with legends like the Danbury Frog People and the Faceless People of Monroe emerging alongside melonheads, highlighting the interconnected nature of these tales. The North Shore Monster, often called Old Briny, is said to dwell in the Great Salt Lake in Utah. Descriptions of this elusive creature vary, but it is typically portrayed as having a crocodile-like body combined with the head of a horse. The most famous sighting occurred on July 8, 1877, when J.H. McNeil and several workers at the Barnes and Company salt works on the northern shore reported encountering a massive creature. McNeil claimed the creature measured about 75 feet long and emitted a loud bellow as it approached the shore, prompting the men to flee into the nearby mountains where they spent the night in hiding. Upon returning the next morning, they discovered large boulders overturned and the ground disturbed along the shoreline. McNeil later signed an affidavit confirming the sighting, which was published in several local newspapers, including the Corinne Record, the Salt Lake Herald-Republican, and the Deseret News. However, the Deseret News cautioned readers to take the report with a few grains of salt. Some skeptics suggested that the creature could have been a buffalo in the lake, but the reported size of 75 feet made this explanation unlikely. In more recent years, additional accounts of the North Shore Monster have surfaced. In 2023, State Park Ranger Holly Miner recounted a tale involving two hunters on Stansbury Island who were reportedly chased into a cave by a creature described as part crocodile, part horse, with a wingspan exceeding 100 feet. According to the story, the creature returned carrying a cow in its mouth, leaving the hunters to hide in fear overnight. The legend of the North Shore Monster may have deeper roots, with earlier reports potentially contributing to its mythology. Around 30 years before McNeil's encounter, a man known as Brother Bainbridge claimed to have seen a creature with a dolphin-like body in the lake near Antelope Island. Another church official, Brother Kimball, reported seeing a porpoise in the lake on April 19, 1848, leading to Antelope Island being initially named Porpoise Island. Some theories suggest that these sightings might have involved large carp swimming in the less saline waters of Farmington Bay. The Great Salt Lake's extreme salinity, which can fluctuate between 3.5 and 8 times that of the ocean, depending on the location and water levels, creates a challenging environment for aquatic life. The lake reaches a maximum depth of 33 feet and is primarily home to brine shrimp and brine flies, while carp and other fish can be found in the freshwater wetlands and tributaries surrounding the lake. Despite these harsh conditions, legends of large creatures in the lake endure. These tales may stem from unusual phenomena observed in the area or from misunderstandings of the unique ecological dynamics at play in the Great Salt Lake. The Mogollon Monster, often referred to as the Arizona Bigfoot, is an ape-like creature believed to inhabit the central and eastern regions of Arizona along the Mogollon Rim. With descriptions reminiscent of the legendary Bigfoot, this creature has become a notable figure in local folklore. Commonly depicted as a large bipedal being standing over 7 feet tall, the Mogollon Monster is said to possess large red eyes and a body covered in long black or reddish-brown hair, except for its chest, face, hands, and feet. Witnesses have reported a strong, pungent odor associated with the creature, likened to a combination of dead fish, a skunk with poor hygiene, decaying peat moss, and the musk of a snapping turtle. Anecdotal evidence suggests that the Mogollon Monster is nocturnal, omnivorous, and territorial, with some accounts describing it as potentially violent. Observers claim it walks with wide, unnatural strides and leaves behind large footprints measuring approximately 22 inches. The creature is said to mimic the sounds of birds, coyotes, and other wildlife, as well as emit unusual whistle-like sounds. It reportedly explores campsites after dark, constructs nests from pine needles and twigs, and even throws stones from concealed positions. Additionally, There are accounts of the Mogollon monster decapitating deer and other animals before consuming them. Many witnesses describe an eerie silence preceding an encounter, creating a sense of tension akin to that felt in the presence of a predator. Most sightings of the Mogollon monster are reported in the ponderosa pine forests of the Mogollon Rim, which stretches from Prescott to Williams, southeast to Alpine, south to Clifton, and back northwest to Prescott. The oldest known sighting dates back to 1903, when I.W. Stevens described a creature near the Grand Canyon with long white hair and claws that threatened him while consuming the blood of 2 cougars. Cryptozoologist Don Davis recounted his experience from the mid-1940s during a Boy Scout trip near Payson, Arizona. He described the creature as massive, with deep-set eyes and a mostly hairless face, along with extremely large arms. Another witness, Marjorie Grimes, a resident of White River, Arizona, reported multiple sightings of a tall, black creature between 1982 and 2004. Despite the numerous reports, skepticism surrounds the existence of the Mogollon monster. Stan Lindstedt, a professor emeritus of biology at Northern Arizona University, dismisses the notion that a large humanoid could remain hidden in such a vast area, categorizing it as mythology rather than a scientific reality. The scientific community often attributes sightings of the creature to hoaxes or misidentifications, suggesting that grizzly bears, black bears, mountain lions, and elk, which once roamed the Arizona forests, may explain some of the encounters. The Flatwoods Monster is a notable figure in West Virginia folklore, associated with a series of sightings in 1952. The incident began when a bright light streaked across the sky, leading to a widely reported encounter that remains a point of intrigue. On September 12, 1952, at approximately 7:15 p.m., 2 brothers, Edward and Fred May, along with their friend Tommy Heyer, witnessed a bright object that appeared to crash land on the property of farmer G. Bailey Fisher. Excited by their sighting, the boys went to find Kathleen May, who accompanied them along with local children Neil Nunley and Ronnie Shaver, and National Guardsman Eugene Lemon, to investigate. When they reached the top of a nearby hill, they reported seeing a pulsating red light. Lemon, shining his flashlight in that direction, claimed to have seen a tall, humanoid figure with a round red face and a pointed, hood-like shape. Descriptions of the figure varied, with some accounts suggesting it stood about 10 feet tall and had glowing eye-like shapes that emitted greenish-orange light. The figure allegedly made a hissing sound and moved toward the group, prompting Lemon to scream and drop his flashlight, causing the group to flee in terror. Witnesses also reported a pungent mist and feelings of nausea following the encounter. When local authorities investigated reports of a crashed aircraft in the area, they found no evidence of a creature or crash site, although some reports mentioned skid marks and a strange, gummy substance found the following day. The incident garnered significant media coverage, with national press outlets picking up the story and UFO enthusiasts descending upon Flatwoods to investigate. Reports spread quickly, leading to widespread interest in the supposed monster. UFO writers like Gray Barker and Ivan T. Sanderson arrived to look into the matter, further fueling the frenzy. In the years following the sightings, skeptics have offered various explanations. In 2000, investigator Joe Nickel concluded that the bright light was likely a meteor, while the pulsating red light could have been from an aircraft navigation or hazard beacon. He suggested that the creature witnesses described closely resembled a barn owl, which could have been startled and perched on a tree. The perception of the creature's humanoid features may have been distorted by the witness's anxiety and the surrounding foliage, which could create illusions of the lower body. Nickel noted that several flashing red aircraft beacons were visible in the area, which may have contributed to the sightings. He argued that the witnesses' descriptions of the creature's silhouette and movements closely matched the behavior of a startled barn owl, particularly when its talons were gripping a branch, leading to confusion about its physical form. Skeptic Ryan Haupt further emphasized that some of the supposed evidence, like tracks and residue, was likely the result of a local boy's truck, and that nausea experienced by witnesses could be attributed to hysteria and overexertion rather than an encounter with an extraterrestrial being. The piasa, or piasa bird, is a creature from Native American mythology, famously depicted in murals painted by indigenous peoples on the cliffs overlooking the Mississippi River. Its original location was along the limestone bluffs in Madison County, Illinois, specifically near present-day Alton. While the original mural no longer exists, a modern rendition based on 19th-century sketches has been created, though it requires regular restoration due to the unsuitability of the limestone for holding images. The original mural is believed to have been created before European explorers arrived in the region, possibly dating back to the Mississippian culture that thrived in Cahokia from around 900 CE to its peak in 1200 CE. Cahokia was the largest prehistoric city north of Mexico, home to a significant population and rich in iconography featuring animals such as falcons, thunderbirds, and monstrous snakes. In 1921, an article in the Alton Evening Telegraph described the discovery of 7 smaller painted images about 1.5 miles upriver from the piasa's original location. These images, authenticated in 1905, included representations of various animals and were later lost during transit to the Missouri Historical Society. Petroglyphs from a similar era can also be found at Washington State Park in Missouri. In 1673, Father Jacques Marquette encountered the piasa painting and described it as a large creature resembling a calf, adorned with deer-like horns, red eyes, and a body covered in scales. His description noted the creature's tail winding around its body, culminating in a fish-like end. Other French explorers reported that, by 1699, the images had suffered damage due to local practices of shooting at them. The piasa was first referred to as the piasa bird in an article published around 1836 by John Russell, a professor at Shirtliff College in Upper Alton. He claimed the name originated from a nearby stream, meaning the bird that devours men. According to Russell, the creature terrorized nearby Indian villages until a chief named Watoga devised a plan to slay it, leading to the creation of the mural in its honor. Some sources, however, question the authenticity of Russell's narrative, suggesting it was a fabrication. Marquette's original description did not mention wings, which raises the possibility that both accounts may have accurately reflected the creature's evolving representation over time. Scholarly research has linked the piasa to the underwater panther, a creature in Native American mythology often depicted with large feet and a menacing appearance. The term piasa has been associated with various interpretations of supernatural beings, with connections to the mythology surrounding malevolent twin dwarves and a cultural hero known as the Illinois trickster. Research by Dr. Mark J. Wagner supports the connection between the piasa and the underwater panther, highlighting the creature's significance in the broader context of Native American folklore and iconography. And there you have it. If you enjoy our content, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. Thank you, and safe travels, my dear friends.